All right, welcome back. We've got a stock market update. It's been a pretty wild last couple of weeks in the stock market. Last time we talked was post NVDA earnings after those blockbuster numbers came out. And the market has been taken over with geopolitical volatility and oil uncertainty. So with the Middle East conflict arising over the last couple of weeks, we've had mini oil spikes, volatility spikes, which we'll look at in just a moment. But let's take a quick look at the heat map for the stock market. NVIDIA up a few percent, Apple down 6%, Google down 6%. The whole financial sector is red. There's still a lot of private credit worries that are out there. Maybe we'll make a separate video on that. But other than that, a lot of things are just kind of chopping up and down. It doesn't look too bad here, but there has been quite a bit of volatility. Even a name like NVIDIA, it's up 3%, down 3%. Same thing with Amazon. A lot of these big tech names have just been chopping sideways, not making a big move. But the moves have been big themselves, but they really haven't gone anywhere. So the big news is oil. Yesterday I looked at the oil futures market and it was up 20+% on Sunday night due to conflict in the Middle East. So oil has really charged up here. If we zoom out, for the longest time we were in this downward trend here, making our way down, and we just exploded out of that. This is insane to look at. This is the weirdest looking chart I've seen. I mean, we've seen oil make these blow off tops back in 2022, but today was the largest move in oil ever, at least in modern oil history, and it reached a high of $112 a barrel. I've seen photos in Los Angeles of over $7 gas over the weekend. So good thing that this is pulling back, because if oil was up to 112, we'd see like $10 to $12 gas potentially in some places in California. But oil did pull back today with some easing rhetoric from Trump on the Middle East conflict. So we'll see how that goes. I still expect some more chop up and down, but obviously this move was parabolic and wasn't likely to last. Oil tends to have these spikes, but then it'll eventually give it back as the supply and the market normalizes. But this was just insane to see. So oil popped almost 30%, and it's now in a bear market as it's down over 20% just on the afternoon. So oil is down 27% in a handful of hours. So just insane volatility there for oil. And speaking of volatility, we've been just churning up here these last couple of months since the beginning of the year, and we finally got a nice couple of spikes here in the volatility index. Now I have this green box permanently on the VIX, because when the VIX is high, it's time to buy. And we quickly popped into this green box this morning, and then we shot back down. So again, who knows what happens here. I still think things are going to kind of be bouncing up and down, but this just shows you kind of the craziness that's been going on in the market. Let's take a look at the Nasdaq. So the QQQs, again, down big this morning, but we had a nice recovery this afternoon. So my base case has been that we get a little bit of a pullback, 5-10%. This morning, the Nasdaq did hit a 7% pullback at its low, but it has recovered 2.5% in the afternoon. But I still stick to what we see on this green squiggly here that I drew a few weeks ago, that we most likely would see something like this. Obviously, the conflict in the Middle East can get resolved, and all of a sudden we're just gangbusters, all-time highs again. That's totally in the cards as well. That's why the volatility is high, because we're due for a breakout move, 5-10%. Is it going to be to the upside or to the downside? We'll have to wait and see. Good news on fears being soothed over will most likely resolve this move to the upside. But if things continue to just kind of stay status quo and we don't get a nice resolution, maybe we chop around and just do a slow bleed out here. So we'll have to wait and see. Bitcoin was interesting. Hasn't really done much, which I think is a good thing. It's already been beaten down so much, it's made its move down. But with all the bad news, all the headlines, Bitcoin is just chopping sideways between 70 and 65K. I guess that's a win. All right, let's take a look at some of the tech names. A lot of AI news as well this week. Anthropic and the government going at it. OpenClaw continuing to blow people's minds. I've got my own Claw bot set up behind me on a computer, and I've been tinkering around with it, and it is pretty amazing stuff. So when it comes to these technology names, still a lot of indecision and not sure what to do with them. The software names have rebounded a little bit, but names like NVIDIA report absolutely phenomenal numbers, and the stock hasn't gone anywhere. You've got Amazon not doing a whole lot, pulling back up, recovering a little bit from its earnings drop, but not a whole lot going on here, just kind of slowly making its way back up. This is the name that I've been buying the most over the last couple of weeks. I've also been buying some Palantir when it had its big drop down here into the 125s. But this is getting a nice geopolitical bump. That's typically how Palantir works. It'll sell off because it's valuation, and then it'll rally when there's contract news or geopolitical uncertainty. Netflix, big news here for Netflix. They did back out of the HBO Warner Bros. Acquisition. And as we've talked about with Netflix, this was an undervalued stock. Whenever it got resolved, either they would finalize the deal or back out. That uncertainty just needed to get over with, and it did, and we saw a nice big pop on Netflix here from 76 up to 96. So who knows where we go from here, but Netflix, a quality name, long-term hold. Didn't buy anything here, but pretty interesting to see that, you know, we got that pop after the acquisition was backed out of. Let's see here. What other names do we want to talk about? I don't think there's too much else to talk about. I'm sure there'll be more news coming out in the next couple of days. We can look at Tesla real quick. This one also not doing a whole lot. So just consolidating sideways. It'll go down 3%, then pop up 3%, go down 3%, pop up. So again, you can see these moves here. We really haven't gone anywhere, but this is just kind of how the market has been acting. Big move up on a bounce, and then it'll sell off. It'll bounce back up, sell off. So we're just kind of chopping along sideways. But I expect the end of this week for there to be a nice resolution either one way or the other, to the upside or to the downside on the market. And I have cash ready to pick up my favorite names. My buying list is still NVIDIA, Amazon. Those are the two that are really the closest to my buy targets right now. I really do like NVIDIA under 170. If we can get a nice flush into the 165 or maybe even 150 would be phenomenal. But who knows if we get that. This has been very strong support for almost a year for NVIDIA. We've gone nowhere in a year for NVIDIA, but its revenue has gone from 46 billion to 66 billion, and they're guiding for $80 billion. So this is what I love to see, a stock that hasn't moved up in price, but its fundamentals of earnings is continuing to grow at a rapid pace. That's what I love to see in a stock. Gives me a lot of time to accumulate a company like this right here. Google is also interesting. If we can get below 300 bucks, I would like to add to my Google position. This is just such a quality company. And we'll have a separate video on Google here in a couple of weeks. But that's all I got for you guys for today. Pretty wild day for the VIX, for oil, and we'll see where we go from here and what the next headline brings us. But that is how the market is trading. It's trading from tweet to tweet, headline to headline. We know the fundamentals. The fundamentals are good on these technology names, but it's what's going to happen geopolitically with oil, inflation, rates, all those things. So we'll keep you up to date and keep you in the loop. All right, peace out.